Say, hey guys, it's Klaus. You know, I'm surrounded by mental cases, and I'm sure that you are probably surrounded by mental cases as well. Or maybe you are a mental case yourself. I don't know, you might be able to hear the beeping in the background because there's a lot of construction going around outside my neighborhood here. I just kind of moved in a couple of months ago, and it's spring, and I like to walk around the neighborhood and see what's happening and talk to everyone. I'm very, like to spark up the conversations with people, right? And I have realized and come to be aware that a lot of the people that live around me here are mental cases. I just don't know what's going on. Going to give you some examples. I was just walking down the street the other day, and there's the big trucks and things and dirt piled up in front of I live in an apartment, but I like to walk through the more affluent areas. Go for walks in the neighborhoods. Like to go where it's nice. Just go for a walk. And I went for a walk, and there's this house. It's got a big pile of dirt in the front, and there was this lady there and her husband, and seemed like really nice people. And I like to stop and spark up conversation. I said to them, "Wow, you guys are doing a lot of work here. Like, what's going on? What's with all the dirt and the big pile and all the machines?" And the lady was so happy, that I was being friendly. She sparked up the conversation right back and said, "Oh yeah, well we've decided that we're re-landscaping in the back because we just bought this place last year, and we don't like the backyard because it's too high." Sorry, I'm not really sure what you mean. What do you mean it's too high? Well, our backyard is 3 feet higher than the neighbors, and there's a retaining wall, and that's fairly high, and we wanted to lower that difference to 1.5 feet because it's now 3 feet. And we've decided that if we have a step coming out of our back door, instead of no step, we could add a step and lower the backyard 1.5 feet, and then that retaining wall drop would be less than 3 feet. It would only be 1.5 feet. Okay. Well, I asked her, do you commonly fall off that wall into your neighbor's yard? Has that been an issue for you in the year you've been here? And well, no, there's a fence and stuff, but it's so terrible when you're standing in your backyard and you look down and you're 3 feet higher than the neighbor, and we only wanted that difference to be 1.5 feet instead of 3 feet, and unfortunately the road is slightly on a hill, and everyone's yard is approximately 3 feet higher than the neighbor's yard if you walk up the street. But so I mentioned it to her, if you lower your yard 1.5 feet, that retaining wall will be a little lower, but then the neighbor on the other side, his 3-foot wall is going to become 4.5 feet. That could be a problem. And she said, well, that's okay, because she's looking up at that one, she can't see that one, but he would be looking down. So eventually maybe your neighbor is going to lower his yard 1.5 feet, and then the next neighbor is going to lower his yard 1.5 feet, and I don't get it. And I kid you fucking not, I walked down the street a little farther, and there's another big truck there, about 3 houses down, and there's another couple, and they're also doing some sort of renovation. I asked them, what are you guys doing? And they seemed really nice and started chatting, and they explained how that when they moved in, they did a lot of landscaping, and they put in Kentucky bluegrass in the back, and they have a lot of kids over from the neighborhood, and they're always playing. They've got these toys. They got this blow-up house where the kids can jump up and down, and then this other thing that blows up that becomes a badminton court, and then there's another blow-up thing that becomes like a pool with a slide, and the kids are always playing in the back. And they mentioned how that the Kentucky bluegrass selection wasn't optimal and is scratchy on the children's skin, so that you could see the big pile of grass on the front. They had ripped out, the workers had ripped out all their backyard grass, and they were lowering the yard 6 inches and installing some new type of dirt, and then planting a different type of grass, which is more subtle and flexible and less scratchy on human skin. Some sort of a new hybrid of grass. that they're going to have planted. So when their kids are playing in the jumping toy, and they step out barefoot onto the grass, they, ooh, this grass is scratchy, daddy, my foot feels scratchy on the grass. Like, shut up. No, they're changing. I said, wow, you really look after your children. You're obviously very good parents. You've got your children's heart at mind. And I looked around the neighborhood. I was standing there and I looked around, and out of the 10 or 12 houses that were visible, I could see that every single one of them had these things, these bags. It was called bag of dirt. Like a big square cubic meter or cubic yard, more than a cubic yard, like probably 2 cubic meters of dirt on the front of all the. I looked around. I said, "What are all these bags of dirt? Everyone's got a bag of dirt. Like, what's going on?" And the lady explained it to me. Well, obviously every year you need to top up your dirt for all your plant beds and your flowers and your grass. You need to add new soil and loam and dirt because it needs that. And I was just wondering, well, where does the old dirt go? Like, do you have a problem with this neighborhood loses its dirt? Is there a dirt thief somewhere coming, stealing all your dirt? Well, no, she said that it's a good thing to top up your dirt every year in the spring. And I didn't really get it. I talking to her and I said, well, I mean, if everyone in the neighborhood orders like 2 or 3 cubic meters of dirt every year, once the neighborhood becomes older, like 40, 50 years from now, aren't you guys worried that you'll have so much new dirt here that there'll be dirt right up to the like fucking tops of the windows and you won't be able to get out of your houses? You're adding so much dirt. Like, what's wrong with the old dirt? Aren't your plants growing in the old dirt? They need new dirt every year to grow. Like, she didn't really know where I was coming from, but I knew right then I was in a neighborhood of mental cases. And so I told her, I said, you two, you seem like nice people. I can help you. I can help. And she said, well, what do you mean? Do you do landscaping yourself, young man? And no, I don't do landscaping, but I can see what's going on here. The thing about this neighborhood, you see, you two included, and everyone that lives here, you are all mental cases. And you need counseling. And I know the counseling is very expensive, so I can help. I mean, we could gather everyone from the neighborhood, and we could all go back to my apartment. I've got a lot of room there because I'm a bit of a minimalist. And we could sit down, and for free, I can, have a chat with all of you and explain to you that the issue that you're really having is not that your lawn is 1.5 feet too high, or that you need the new dirt, or that the grass that you had in your backyard is a little scratchy. The issue is that you are all mental cases, and you don't have a clue, and you should not be able to make these kind of decisions. I mean, although you are all affluent, and this is the affluent neighborhood, and everything's nice, I thought that being the affluent neighborhood, there might be some above average intelligence people that live here, because everything else being equal, if you're smarter or more intelligent than most, you probably be more successful and have more money and be more affluent. But what I've realized is that this is a neighborhood actually of mental cases, and that all of you need help, and I could provide that for you. All of you, you probably know all the neighbors, right? You all use the same contractors for your dirt and your yard raising and your grass replacements. And if we just get everyone together, I'll buy a couple of cases of beer and we could sit around my place. I got a lot of room, and I could explain to you and set you guys straight. It'll be free, and I promise that after one session, you will realize that you're all morons, and maybe by changing the way you behave, you'll be happier in life and not worry too much about the scratchy grass and stuff like that. And, luckily, my apartment is a couple of blocks from this neighborhood, and I don't have to frequent the place all the time, so they were happy to see me go and probably expect that I'll never be back. But I'm going to go for a walk there every freaking day and, make a point of saying, hello, how's the new grass? Is it less scratchy as you expected? Or are you satisfied with your yard? being a 1.5 feet lower, does it, when you step off that step, does, the gravity pulling you down that extra foot, does it feel better? I'm going to make a point of keeping in touch with these people because I think they're pretty good at heart. They just, they've got mental problems. What can I say? But having said all that, I'm sure that you guys live with mental cases yourselves everywhere. They're all around us. And luckily, we're watching a game here being played by someone who is not a mental case. This guy actually knows what he's doing. Thank God that we're watching something, that's not ridiculously mental. What's his name? Spilf87 in the Panther M10. Tier 7 now, so you actually get better matchmaking at Tier 7. You learned something there. Tier 7's better than Tier 8 now. That's trying to tie World of Tanks into this. Can you imagine if we had to, through this conversation and this diatribe, you would have to actually watch a mental case playing and listen to a story about mental cases? At least we're watching someone who knows what he's doing, so he's kind of providing the balance necessary to make this work, right? Like he's had an epic game, and now there's, well, we're not gonna say much about this guy. There's nothing he could do. Well, actually, there's a lot he could do for most of the game, but he didn't do it. But he's just going to sit there and let this game end so that we can just look at the post-game stats and stop talking about the mental cases. We're surrounded by them. I'm surrounded by them. There's nothing we can do. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. They're like Chicken Man, And he's going to take one more shot, but it's going to bounce because, that's what happens when the enemy's a one-shot. You start bouncing, right? Because, the developers that made this game are... we're not going to say it. We're not going to do the insulting. It's over. Finally. Look at this metal haul. Look at those. Look at this. Huh? Thank God. We got to see something that makes sense. He's on top. 10 kills. Way to go, buddy. He even made a profit. Wow. I don't know. I just don't get it. Maybe it's me.